2003 Jaguar XJ8. I have a bad oxygen sensor. Took it in to possibly get all four replaced, and they looked at them and said they could do 3 of the 4, but not the one that's throwing the code. The one that's throwing the code for me is right down here, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but there is a heat shield. That big a piece of aluminum right there, that's a heat shield that's covering it, and you can't even see it from here because of that heat shield. Engine's hot right now because I just got back from the mechanics, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'll remove these covers over here, and maybe we can get a little bit better look and get down to that heat shield and start unbolting it. But I'm gonna try to film this. I was hoping that they were going to be able to get to just the one. They quoted me $114 for just the labor to. I've got all the parts, but I was in there sitting right there on the seat. So I've got all the parts to do all 4, and I may go ahead and do all 4. And I figured, why not just buy all 4, because they came as a kit anyway, all 4 of them in one packet. So I may end up doing all 4, but for now, at least I'm going to do the one that's shooting me the code over here on this side. But I have to get down to it, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it easily. It's going to probably take some doing. We have this one screw here. This whole piece is easy to come off. This piece comes off easy, but then I don't know what I'm going to do with this overflow here for the radiator. I don't know if I'm going to have to take all of this apart to remove that, or if I'm going to be able to get down to it. I'm not sure. I have the master service manual for this car, which is also known as an X308, by the way. But like I said, that part comes off easy. So we can maybe get a little bit better look, but still not a great one. Like I said, that heat shield there's 2 pieces of heat shield. There's this top piece, the one that I need to take off. There might even be 3 by the look of it, possibly. But I definitely need to take that piece of heat shield right there off, because that's right under that. And I definitely can't get to it without that off. And you cannot reach it from underneath either, which is news to me. I figured they were going to be able to reach it from underneath, but they can't. This other one, the upstream, is real easy to reach. It's just right there in the wide open. There's no heat shield or anything, because there's really nothing on top of it to require a heat shield. But yeah, so I'll probably at least change that one, and we'll try to get this other one too. You see, you can't even see it from over here either, because they've got that heat shield surrounding it. So we'll have to see how to deal with that. I think that reservoir right there might have to come out, and I'm not sure what all that's going to entail. We got a bolt here. And these wires, yeah, they're I thought they were a little more stiff than they are, but they're probably flexible enough I can move this up and over a little bit. Let me get a socket on that and see if I can't move that. That's a 10 millimeter, by the way, in case you're wondering. Okay, got that one off, and there is another one right around here on the front edge. I'll get that off too. Okay, now I should be able to just kind of move this up and out of the way, hopefully. I've got a sensor attached to it, but I don't think I'll have to remove that. I'm not sure yet. Now we got a bunch of plumbing attached to it down here underneath. I might have to remove all of that. Let me let the car cool down, and then I'll see about removing this, because like I said, there's a bunch of plumbing underneath here. I guess maybe that coolant goes to the transmission. I don't know. All right, with a little bit of persuasion, I'm able to push this thing pretty far out of the way. I think this might work out okay, possibly. It looks like I can reach the there's two screws holding that heat shield on. There's one there, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, 2 right there, you can see them, just barely. So I think I can reach down there and get that. I've got just a couple things in the way now. Move this over out of the way. I'll have to remember to move that again, I think, because Will that be in the way of my throttle? No, it won't. I don't want to start puncturing or busting up hoses either, if I can keep from it here. Let me see if I can get down there. That's going to take a Torx. I think this hose is going to be in the way of that second Torx. Let me let this thing cool down because it's blasting heat right in my face. Like I said, I just took it to the mechanic, so we'll let it cool off for a while. Okay, so in the process of looking at this a little further, I discovered there's not two screws, but 3 screws. There's another one over there, see it? So there's 3 of the things, and at the moment I'm using the Dremel to just grind them off because you can't get anything on them. I've tried extension to get down there. It's running me up against the firewall up here to use the extension, even on the most accessible one. So there's no way I can use it on the least accessible too. I've used that little short thing. I was able to get it on there, but wasn't able to twist it because it's just too far down in there. You can't get any torque on it. So it's just I'm just grinding them off at this point. Sick of messing with it. So. But yeah, here's what I'm having to do. And it's probably going to take me a little while, probably a couple of grinding wheels and maybe a few batteries as well at this rate. Okay, so we're skipping ahead several months here because it's taken me this long to get back around to this project to get down to the O2 sensor that I need to reach. Okay, so if you have one of these cars, if you have a 2000, I think actually 98 is when this version of the Jag started, 98 to 03. If you have a 98 to 03 XJ8, this is what you're gonna have to do to reach this. To reach this driver's side oxygen sensor, you're gonna have to take the coolant reservoir off. That's this guy. So this has to come completely out. You have to take basically everything, the sensor off, all of it. And in the process of doing that, I actually broke one of the connectors. So I'm gonna have to replace this connector. And these things are really fragile, so you might as well just remove the reservoir, because where I made the mistake was I was trying to get around having to remove that, and I kept moving it back and forth, and that wiggled this piece of plastic, this plastic connector. So I got to get one of these connectors back on this hose, and I'm not even sure if I can do it on this hose. I'll have to figure that part out separately. But there we go. So I've got a clean, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. But anyway, so down here, it's quite impossible to get to this sensor easily because there is a heat shield there. The heat shield eventually comes out. But what I had to do was grind off. Here's the heat shield, right? That's what it looks like. It's hard to get out. It can come out if you remove that. You have to remove, like I said, you have to remove this reservoir, and you have to get all of your plumbing out of the way. So see these hoses right here, these connect to the reservoir. I've got these bent up and under and out of the way over here. This, I thought I was gonna have to remove this, but I did not end up having to remove it. But I did have to get this hose right here out of the way because it normally runs way out and over, and so I've got it zip tied back. I've got this hose zip tied back, and eventually it did come out, but like I said, I had to grind off. There's 3 bolts that bolt that heat shield on there, and you have to get down in there with a tool and grind those off. So what I recommend is, first things first, I try to do it backwards without removing that that reservoir. Remove your reservoir first thing. Just get that out of the way so you can work, and then you're gonna still probably have to grind those off because I don't have a tool that even could reach in there and get the. Now I have bent this. This was up here like this, so it was even more in the way of the oxygen sensor before, but I've hammered that down out of the way because what I'm gonna do is something different, I think, on the heat shield. I'm gonna put it back on down there, but I'm gonna reattach it some different way, maybe with just one screw, to make it easier in the future, because this was a total pain in the ass. And actually, it was such a pain in the ass that the garage that I took it to at first, just to have all 4 of them replaced, said they couldn't do it because they were not going to be able to get to that one. So yeah, they basically refused service on the vehicle because they couldn't get to that top one. Anyway, so I was able to get down there to it, and you know, they make a snap-on tool, an oxygen sensor removal tool for this purpose, and it's actually listed in the manual, but it's a 22 millimeter that you need. And I'm gonna try to do it just with the regular old double-ended box wrench. I'm gonna try actually to clip off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna detach it, and if you follow where it connects, it actually connects over here. You see the one that's wiggling there? Can you see it? No, you can't really see it very well. Anyway, it detaches right down there. So I got to detach that, but I think I'm gonna clip this off and just slide this box tool around it to get it out of there. First things first, we're gonna get some penetrating oil down on it. That's gonna smell great when that burns off, isn't it? So we'll let that soak in for a little bit. I'll get something to eat, and then we'll come back and get that off of there. But like I said, I want to clip those wires so I can just slide this tool around it. So the sensor I need is this gray one right here, and they're normally down here on a little rail. This is going to be real hard for you to see because it will not fucking focus. Okay, so you can see the sensor down here on this rail. Normally it's attached to a little piece of metal. It just slides up right off of it. You can kind of see it on that rail right there, a little piece of metal sticking up. So this is the connector right here we need to disconnect. Okay, so to disconnect this connector, it's just a little tab right here on the back. You just press this little tab down and the thing, it easily disconnects. So I just cut the connector off. That's going, make sure you cut the correct one. This is the one that's going to the sensor, not to the ECM. So I just cut that piece off. So now what I'll be able to do is just slide my wrench, slide this open end over it. Okay, so that right there. Now I can just get that end over the top of it. Okay, so a few minutes later, and I got it. It's out. It's out. I was able to get it with that box wrench rather than buying the dedicated tool for the purpose. Like I said, this is a 22 millimeter. I had to use the hammer on the wrench, so you just hammer onto the wrench. I had to hammer on the wrench to get it started, to get a little impact. And I don't know if they had anti-seize on this or not when they installed it. I'm sure they did from the factory. If this is factory. This probably is factory, because I can't imagine anyone else going through what I just went through to get this out of there and then reinstalling the heat shield the way that it was. I can't imagine anybody doing that, because there's no way to take that heat shield out, really. I don't even know if there's a tool available that could have gotten all 3 of those bolts out the way that they were in there, because they were, like I said, this thing was up here and they were just in weird angles and you couldn't reach it with anything. You couldn't get enough torque with a small screwdriver, and anything long, I just couldn't reach it. So I don't know, I just couldn't get anything out of there. But it's out. Let's get the new one in. For the new one, we're going to use some anti-seize. Okay, so I don't need the anti-seize after all. These sensors that I bought already have some anti-seize there on the threads. I didn't think it was there, but it is. We don't have to apply any of that.
All right, it's all back together. Obviously, I didn't put the original heat shield back in there, but I did put a little cake pan down in there to hopefully keep some of the direct heat off of these hoses. The only thing I really have to do now is replace this. Well, I might have to replace this entire hose here, but I think they sell these whole. But for now, at least I can read the codes. I can start the engine, read the codes. But first, I got to charge the battery because this thing's been sitting for a long time. Okay, here we are finally. This car is running for the first time in many months, and I've got a little bit of smoke because some of the spray that I put on there, the penetrating oil, is kind of burning off of the. You probably can't even see. Yeah, you can see it, sort of. It's kind of burning off of there. But she's all back together. She is running, and also there are no codes. I've cleared the codes and I've read again, and we have really nothing to speak of. We have this P1000 onboard diagnostic systems readiness test not complete, but that's the only code that I'm getting. So all the other codes are actually cleared out. Even this one for the moment, the one coming from the shifter, but which we will fix separately in a different video. Also, to start this car, because it's been dead for so long, the battery I think is going bad on me because I've had it on charge for a couple of days, and it's still drawing a little bit of current. So I don't know, I think my battery might be unrecoverable. But I did use this jump starter to actually get a little more oomph out of it, and so that helped. So anyway, we got it running, but we still have some things to do to get this thing back on the road. So definitely not a job for the weak-hearted here, because getting that off was more than I bargained for, to be honest. And I hope that heat shield that I have in there is good enough to do the job, you know, just to kind of keep these. What it's really doing is keeping these coolant lines you know, from getting cooked. But it's idling good. It hasn't come up to full temperature yet. When it does, we're going to have issues because it's probably going to overheat, because I lost a little bit of coolant in the process. I do have an ABS light. That's because my ABS sensors all need to be cleaned, if not replaced. I'm not sure which, but I've still got that light to go. We still have this to replace for sure. This is a problem, and we have the part for that. We are starting to heat up here and get up to temperature. When the fan kicks on and the overflow tube starts to overflow, it's probably going to spill everywhere, so I'm just going to stop the car before it gets to that point. It's funny, that air conditioner quit at the same time the car did. But we'll start it up one more time. Actually, I want to try to see if I can start it on the strength of just the battery. I want to see what that does. Let's see if we can get it going on the strength of just the battery. So let's unhook up all this stuff. These things are really cool. I'll put a link down in the description and then a pinned comment if you want one of these things. These are really, really handy. But yeah, let's get him off of there because we don't need him for the moment. And let's get the battery charger off of it. I don't think it's going to start. I think we got a bad battery because I screwed up when if you have a Jag like this, you need to unhook your battery when you're not driving it. When you're parking it for a long period of time, even if you've left it in an airport and you're going away for a couple months or something like that, it's worth your time. Go back there and unhook your battery, because if you don't, there's a clock in here that will drain it. And I don't know if there's other systems also that are on all the time, but this clock constantly runs whether the car is running or not. And I think that is the sort of parasitic drain that eventually drains your battery for the most part. But there might be other things too I don't know about that are on all the time in these cars.
But yeah, that battery is an issue. Let me see if we're gonna have to replace it or not. It's like I said, it's been on charge for a couple days, and we might not be able to start this thing. Ooh, it actually did start up on the strength of just the battery. So maybe we're in luck. Maybe we're in luck. Something doesn't sound right. What is that? But yeah, like I said, broke this overflow hose. So, and you can't just replace the ends on these. I thought I was going to be able to just replace this little fitting, but you can't. These are made up specially. And yeah, this hose new is about, that's probably about an $80 hose, just that, from there to there. But I found one for like 20 on eBay with $10 or $12 shipping, something like that. I don't know. It was like, it was under 20 bucks. It was under 40 bucks shipped to me, and it's on its way. So I will be able to drive this thing around soon. But next project, we're gonna get this right here replaced. That'll do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed, hit subscribe down below. For now, we'll see y'all later, especially if you want more Jag videos, because I think I've got a couple more coming up soon.